Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK,
And I'm Courtney.
and Courtney, how are you?
Well, it took us an hour to get here because I'm unwell. I'm I'm having the most ADHD day that I've had in such a long time. I'm fine in general. Like as a person, I'm okay.
Yeah.
But my brain is 100% not. I have been home for almost a week, not quite, almost a week. And I still have not recovered from traveling for 2 weeks. Like
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't eat right. I ate dinner at midnight. I didn't eat. I don't think I ate the rest of the day. I ate dinner at midnight. I don't sleep anymore. My sleep is not at any of the right times.
Yeah.
So I'm doing really well with that. But it's okay because I also decided to have a ton of morning appointments. So,
Yeah. It's
all's
great.
well. I don't sleep. I get up early. I don't eat. I just kind of go about the day and hope for the best. But I'm on my second cup of coffee. So
Fantastic.
we're thriving. And I had a pretty good week. So I got back Monday and had Mexican food for lunch before I recorded with you after my nap. And then Tuesday I went and got my nails done.
Yeah.
Very shiny. And we had hibachi at this place I'd never been. It's amazing. It's Shogun. It's,
Yeah.
other places I think too,
Yeah.
but it was really good. And then Wednesday, I worked a lot. I did a lot of work. And so when Thursday came around, I went to see my very favorite comedian as of right now, Nate Bargatze.
Okay.
And it was so funny. I love stand-up comedy
Me
so
too.
much. I just love it so much. And I saw he was coming to the Smoothie King
I mean,
Center like a month ago.
I'm wearing my John Chris shirt right now.
I am not. I'm freezing. I'm wearing my Tidal Rising shirt because I think I'm going to support Tidal in their new rendition. I think they're doing good things for artists.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, so I went to the show. I saw the tickets like a month ago and they were like $50. I was like, I don't want to pay like $50 for like two tickets. I was like, I'll just buy two tickets and then someone will come with me.
Right.
That was my plan. And I was like, I don't know. So I put it off to the very last minute. It was like Tuesday. I bought tickets, but then they were $20. So
Yeah.
I bought two tickets. And my friend Vicky, who lives here, went with me, and it was nice because her husband was able to drive us over there and drop us off and pick us up. So I just had to get into town and then leave my car at her house. So we didn't have to fight the Smoothie King traffic because it's a nightmare. But it ended up being really easy. And he had three openers. The first one was okay. The other two were so funny though. And Julia
Nice.
McCullough was the host.
Nice.
And he's hilarious. So he did do some jokes, obviously, but
Yeah.
I wish he would have done a full set. He did 15 minutes or 10 minutes or something
Yeah.
to open it up. Um, so when Be Funny makes it to a streaming service, probably Netflix, but whatever streaming service it ends up on, highly, highly recommend that everyone go watch it because it is just so good. And I just love Nate Bargatze so much. So so it's been fine. It's been a good week. It's been great. How are you?
It really hasn't been a very good week for me.
Ping pong,
Um,
ping pong.
yeah, so last time I got talked to you guys, I was suffering from horrific sunburn. As you can see, still suffering from sunburn, and now it's
Not
even
nearly
worse.
as bad though.
No, well, because my face already peeled and then I had to go back outside.
Oh,
So I'm
sure.
I'm I'm
Sure.
re-sunburned.
Got it.
And then I had sun blisters that I then picked. And so now I'm scabbing and I'm down to 6 days before the wedding. So fuck me. Um I'm just stressed. I spent a lot of last week thinking I was gonna lose my job. Not my teaching job, my theater job for some of
Yeah,
the
so she messaged me and she's like, I think I might lose my job. And I was like, go hard. Like, what does it matter? You have like 2 weeks left. And then she was like, no, the theater one. I was like, oh, no, don't lose that one.
Yeah.
Maybe keep that job.
Yeah, it was very stressful. My boss was never not on our side, like with whatever have everything that happened, and like he was like pissed off that this was even a question, and like, but it like was like I need everyone to write a statement about all of the events of this day and all of the places you were and how things went, and so we can get everybody's side of the story. Like,
It
but
was
like
like a
my boss,
situation.
it was a situation, but my boss was on my side, and the vice president of administration read everything and was like, yeah, that they didn't do anything wrong. And the CEO of the theater read everything and said that we didn't do anything wrong. And the director of operations was also always on our side. So like it
Yeah.
was just
Annoying, but not
annoying. And like
detrimental.
it was no, and in the moment I was fucking heated because the thing that was this incident in and of itself was not the issue, but saw in the incidents, it was I was accused of being racist. And anyone who's ever met me was confused by that.
Right, right.
And so I was just like real heated because unfortunately, like in 2024, in the climate that we're in as a society, it's very hard as a white person to defend yourself in a situation where someone is accusing you of being racist in a way that doesn't hurt people. Like
Yeah,
it's the situation was completely unfounded and nothing that was ever said or done had anything to do with race at all. In fact, the people
yeah.
that were angry at me were also white. Um, so the whole thing just got dismissed. But had it gotten to the point where like I was actually like on the chopping block for racism, in that situation, what do you do? Like without then causing other issues. Like, and so I was like, I was like, yeah. So it was a very and I was like borderline sun poisoned while this was happening. So, I
Sure,
was like
yeah.
fucking pissed all week. Um,
What a good time to be
it's
alive.
so good, so good. But yeah, and honestly, the thing that pissed me off was that the people who were saying everything that we did were also white, and I was like, clearly, I don't have a problem with like what? I don't. I'm so confused.
Right. Like and that never makes sense to me. I get the like being an ally and whatnot. Like if people are being like genuinely crazy or something, like I get
Yes.
it. But like when it's not, the people who are being affected are not the people that are calling you out, like it's or like don't seem to feel that way. I'm like, why is someone else just trying to cause a problem? Like for no reason.
Yeah. So it was a wild week. Um, and unfortunately, I don't I don't know when the next time I get to sleep is. Because
Well, maybe you can take a nap today. I know you have too
no,
much
I
to
know
do.
I'm going to take a nap after this probably,
Okay.
but it's just like crazy because so my sister's wedding is by the next time you see me, Gabby will be married.
Yay, Gabby.
But then so that means I have like shit happening every day this week, obviously leading up to the wedding.
Mhm.
And then the following week is the last full week of school. And then the
Okay.
following week after that is like all of the end of school events and like cleaning out my classroom and like all of that stuff. And then that week ends with mine and Dan's 2-year anniversary. So like,
Oh, that's
which
so
is
close.
all
That's fun.
lovely, but that means that like June 23rd, I think, is the next day that I have like time to breathe.
You're almost there. You're almost
Almost.
there.
It'll be
Got
great.
that.
Yeah. So since I am struggling,
Yes.
can you? Oh, speaking of struggling, also you were talking about how you're having like a crazy ADHD day. I woke up this morning and realized, even though last night I said I have a bottle of water in the room, so I'll be able to take my pills without having to go downstairs. Did I take my pills? No. So I didn't take my medicine last night. So I'm also mentally not a human today. So we're
That was me yesterday. I forgot to take my medicine
the other day I woke up at
Friday night.
the other night I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I took my pills at 3 o'clock in the morning. because I had forgotten to do it before I went to sleep. But at least at 3 o'clock in the morning, it still feels like it's like nighttime. I feel like I can't take them at 8 o'clock in the morning and then take them again at 9 o'clock at night. That feels weird.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't. So we'll see how today goes. So
Yeah, usually it's like 5 or 6 in the morning when I'm having an insomnia night that I've realized I haven't taken my medicine. And I'm like, I can't take it now
now,
and then
right.
at night. So then I'll take my like I call it my emergency allergy pills. There, it's just Zyrtec.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
Zyrtec doesn't work great for me, and so it's my like fill-in medicine. If I'm like having a really bad day, I'll take it in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
So I just woke up and took that instead, and it was just like got my inhaler if my asthma doesn't kick in
Yeah.
because of or kicks in because I didn't take my medicine. But
Yeah. So
yeah, I hear that.
we're doing great. So since we're clearly thriving mentally today, can you just shower us with some words of wisdom?
Absolutely. So I'm glad I found this quote because it's okay. Uh Champions keep playing until they get it right. Billie Jean King.
Yes.
So I want to watch that movie with Emma Stone and Steve Carell, and I have not yet. And
Yeah.
it's been on my list this week. And so I was like, oh, it's kismet that I found this quote.
Great.
But you didn't. But it's fine. We're here. We're here.
We are here, and here is look at how red I still am. It peeled
Bless your
already too.
heart.
It peeled
You should
already.
put oh, I'll ask Rachel. Rachel has something you should put on it.
Okay,
I'll just go to your bathroom in a minute.
that's fine.
Go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, where here is, other than not in a mentally well place, is Stargate SG-1 Season 6, Episode 1.
How crazy. We are halfway through
Yeah.
SG-1.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Like, oh,
I was telling somebody though, I go, yeah. They were like, what show are you doing now? I go, oh, still Stargate. And they were like, oh, really? And I go, yeah, we still have 8, 13 more seasons and 2 movies. It's fine. That's great. We're great. But so this episode is called Redemption, Part 1, and it is rated 7.9 stars.
yeah, I did not realize this was a part one until it ended. So
it does end in a really weird place. I kind of loved the ending because it was just like it just happened. And we're like, all right, great. It is rated, it's rated less than 8 stars, which I don't necessarily think is fair because I think one of the reasons it's rated lower is because it's so unnecessarily exposition heavy.
You said it was 7.9?
Yeah. But I think that the reason it is I mean, we know that the reason it's not unnecessarily exposition heavy is because they were basically trying to reboot the show for a whole new network with a whole new cast. Kind of.
Yeah.
Really only one person changed, but it was a big enough deal.
I probably would have rated it that way, and I don't feel that way about the episode in general. I actually really liked the episode.
Yeah.
But I'm sad that Daniel's gone. It's all peripheral feeling for me, not necessarily the episode itself.
I think the episode itself, I mean, and obviously part ones are usually ranked lower than part twos, but this episode, I think it did a lot of things. It talked about so many elements of the show in a way that, because you know, as someone who's like binge watching it, that it is just throwing all of the exposition at you.
Right.
But it also didn't feel like that. Like nothing that they brought up felt unnecessary for the episode. So there was, but the part 2 is rated higher. So we'll talk about that next week. But part 2s are almost always rated higher.
It's gonna get crazy.
Yeah. The part that's crazy to me is that it came out on June 7th, 2002, which is like 4 weeks after season 5 ended.
Yeah.
So
do you think that they were doing them in two season increments essentially? Yeah. And so now that we're in season 6, they probably just already had a lot of this footage ready to go. And Sci-Fi was like, we don't want to lose momentum because it's a lot to
Maybe
do in 4 weeks, you know?
part of it is they've always started in the summer. This is
Right.
not new for them to start in the summer. It's a little earlier than usual, but they always
Mhm.
started in the summer. Um, and I do think you have to remember that also in that time, they didn't film things like entire seasons 6 months in
Right.
advance. They were filming like the episode that was coming out in September was filmed in August, and the episode that was coming out in
Right.
October, like they didn't.
Yeah.
So they probably had started work on it
That's what I was
before
thinking.
season five ended, but it's not like they did that like in the
Yeah.
middle of 2001. They did it like
No, yeah.
in like April and
Like,
in April and May instead of June. Like
right.
so.
Just with all the logistics and like you think about production time and like one thing is they don't use a lot of like music that's outside of their compass. Like they composed all the music
Yeah.
so they don't have to worry about licensing separately,
Right.
which is nice. But like post-production can take
Well, and
ages
that's the
too. And
thing.
so,
Post-production can take ages, but remember, Stargate basically has its own entire
mhm,
in-house post-production
right,
team that is only working on Stargate at that time. All of our special effects and visual editors are like work for the show, not for a
right.
network. So that does give them a quicker turnaround time than something say that Netflix's teams have to go through or something like
Yeah.
that. So they probably filmed it like, and I'm trying to think. So, um, what episode was that? You don't even know what I'm about to say. So how on earth would you know? Um, the no, the episode
I'll reach your
Menace.
brain. Hmm.
So Menace came out in what month? What was that day? April, and they filmed it in September.
Okay.
So yeah, so this would have been filmed before season five ended being aired. Probably not after until after season five was done filming and they had changed it or
Yeah.
whatever they need, but definitely before season five aired.
Yeah.
Um,
So this deal was like in the works for like a solid
yeah,
6 months to a year before this happened.
they knew before like they knew about the halfway point of season
Okay.
five filming or season five's filming that they were moving networks.
That makes sense.
That's why they planned the finale the way that they did.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
So because this is only 4 weeks later, the same number one song and number one book from the season finale are the
What a
same.
time. We haven't had that yet. We haven't
We've
had that yet where
never
we start one season, go to the next, and everything's the same.
everything's the
Like,
same. So it's still Ashanti, and it is still the book of that we were talking about last week that I was really excited about the prehistoric fiction
oh,
thing.
right, right, right.
Or the number
Wow, it's
one,
got a good hold. Like
yeah,
those kind of books don't usually
don't
hold for
usually
that
hold for
long,
that long.
especially in
Yeah,
summertime.
right.
It must be
So
really good. You should definitely read it.
right. The number one movie sent me on a wild deep dive because the number one
Excellent.
movie was The Sum of All Fears, which is a Jack Ryan movie.
Okay.
So it's based on the Tom Clancy novel, blah blah blah.
I was like, I think it's because it's not the first, it's a
It's
sequel, right?
not, no, it's the
Okay.
fourth Jack Ryan movie. Um, and it's the one where Ben Affleck plays Jack Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing is, the reason it sent me on a wild deep dive was because they made a very big deal about Jack Ryan being a younger character played by Ben Affleck. And I will tell you, for the newer Jack Ryan stuff, Chris Pine played Jack Ryan when he was 34 years old. John Krasinski started the TV show when he was 39 years old.
Hmm.
Harrison Ford, who played Jack Ryan in the 1992 and 1994 Jack Ryan movies, was 52 and 56 when these
Hmm.
movies came out. So switching to Ben Affleck was significantly younger than Harrison Ford. But they made a big deal as if this was the first time Jack Ryan was played by a young actor. Ben Affleck was 30 years old when this movie came out. The original Jack Ryan was Alec Baldwin in 1990, at 32 years old. I would like to know in what world 32-year-old Alec Baldwin is decades older than 30-year-old Ben Affleck.
But they didn't make a big deal in 90, what'd you say,
And
96?
92 when
92,
Harrison
when
Ford took
Harrison
it
Ford
over.
was 20 years older than that. That wasn't an
Correct.
issue. It was just the other way.
Mhm.
Okay. What a time. Man, movies,
And
cinema.
the reason I was so fascinated by this is because so rarely do men have to deal with that same kind of feedback. Like
Yep,
women get told all the time that they've aged out of
for
things
sure.
or they replace women because of their age. So for a male action main character, especially in the terms of things like you look at things like Matt Damon in the Bourne movies and Keanu Reeves and John Wick, and mind you,
Mhm.
those are newer, but like the biggest action stars were like Clint Eastwood and James Bond. So for them to be like, oh my God, I can't believe a younger man is the spy now, and he's 2 years younger. Fucking wild.
I, what is going on? I don't even know. Like, I don't even know. That
So
is so insane.
I spent an unnecessary amount of time researching how old every actor who played Jack Ryan was yesterday.
Time well spent.
Yeah.
Time well spent.
Um, I have never seen a single Jack Ryan movie, or I've seen 2 episodes of the TV show because my parents were watching it. But
I have not, but I will be watching the TV show because Wendell Pierce is also in it, which is how John Krasinski ended up in my bar. So I feel like
yes,
I owe it to them to now watch their show.
fair enough. I love John Krasinski, and
Me
my parents
too.
really liked the show, and we
I've
watch a
heard
lot
good
of.
things.
So I'm. It's not that I have no desire to watch it, just haven't. And
Yeah.
also, like, I love Chris Pine and Harrison Ford and Ben Affleck and Alec Baldwin's acting sometimes, not Alec Baldwin. So
I agree. Alec
yes,
Baldwin, agree. Uh, I'm split on Harrison Ford. He's got a little crazy in his later years, and I
he
don't know.
he
I need him
has.
to keep it together, get someone to help him get it together.
I
I worry
mean,
about him and his
I,
health.
I do worry about him and his health. But I've never seen him in anything that I didn't like him in.
I mean, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I also got into an interesting fight with Dan about Ben Affleck last night. It wasn't really a fight. I accidentally discovered that one of my friends from high school was best friends with his cousin while we were in high school, and I didn't know any of this, and then was in the same sorority as his sister. So,
Ben
you know how,
Affleck,
no, as Dan's cousin and sister.
what is the
It,
person we're connecting to?
hold on. My friend from high school,
Hmm.
in high school, was very
Hmm.
good friends with this kid, Mike, who is Dan's
Hmm.
cousin.
Hmm.
Then she went to college and was in the same sorority as Dan's sister. And I discovered this on Facebook yesterday. So then I accidentally went into a deep dive and somehow ended up on her Facebook page in 2007.
I see. I was really trying to connect the dots and was not
So
connecting
no,
them.
because it still hasn't connected yet.
I see. I
So
see.
then I called Dan to say goodnight and I go, do you ever realize it's time to go to bed because you found yourself on 2007 on someone's Facebook page and you don't know how you got there? And he was like,
No.
no. Um, so I then, just to annoy him, continued to scroll through his Facebook
Sure.
page all the way till high school and read him out things that he had said on Facebook, because he was not cool. And
Bless
he
his heart.
was very upset about the casting of Ben Affleck as Batman.
I remember a lot of people had a lot of strong opinions about that.
And I said, I don't understand. I didn't love it at first when I heard it because I wasn't picturing the direction they were going with
Yeah.
Batman. But then once I saw it, I was all in because I thought he very much was the tired, over it, but can't give up because that's not what you do, Bruce Wayne. Like I saw Ben Affleck
Mhm.
as Bruce Wayne in a way that I've very rarely seen. Like Christian Bale was a great Batman, did not care for his Bruce Wayne. Same as like Tobey Maguire was a terrible Spider-Man, but a Spider-Man, but a great Peter Parker. And
Yeah.
like, and Andrew Garfield was the opposite.
I don't remember disliking Christian Bale. He was Batman Begins Batman, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's been 25 years since I've seen that movie, but I liked it.
No, no, no. I like them. I like it. I love
Mhm.
the Dark Knight trilogy. I just Ben Affleck was Bruce Wayne to me in a more real way once I saw that movie.
Yeah.
But so I was like, I can't believe you didn't want Ben Affleck to be Batman. I love Ben Affleck. And I was just fucking with him at this point. And he goes, I'm going to be honest with you. At that time, I had never seen Ben Affleck in anything except Daredevil. And I go, okay, well, then in that case,
Okay. Daredevil was terrible.
oh,
Like,
bad.
and Elektra was not even that much better. And I love Jennifer Garner. Like, I wanted
Right.
so bad for that to come out better than it did. Love the
Yeah.
series, love the series.
Yes.
But the movies, garbage.
Right.
Absolute
But so
garbage.
I was about to like throw down about my feelings about Ben Affleck. And then he said that. And I go, you know what?
It's totally fair.
Fine. Um, yeah, so that's how my Facebook stalking relates to Ben Affleck.
I see. Yes.
Neither one of us are mentally stable today. We did warn you that before we started recording. Just
I
um
literally got on this call and went to say three different things at one time to Mary Kate. Then I said, hold up. I'm having the most ADHD day today. I would like to preface this whole day before we get started.
yeah.
So we've made it.
So back to the Stargate episode.
Yes, excellent.
It was directed by Martin Wood, written by Robert C. Cooper, and edited by Rick Martin. Our guest actor is the actor who played Lieutenant, I don't fucking remember what his name was, who made the ship.
Great name.
No, everybody else has already been on the show. I don't know what
I know.
the guy was.
I know.
But so Christopher Kennedy, he's known for Paycheck, Murder at 1600, and Stargate. Fun fact, there are about 47 billion people named Chris Kennedy when you Google that name. Some of them are related to JFK, some of them are not. One of them was like like a billionaire from the 1920s who was weirdly not related to the Kennedy family. Like, I don't know what's happening.
Did it
No,
take you 7 hours to do your notes yesterday?
no, because literally none of them were this man. So I just wrote can't find shit. He's
I'm
he's one of those guys who works in Canadian film who doesn't really do anything else and has been in a couple
yeah.
things and like you don't really know anything about him, but he's also older than the internet generation. So like I really after like the third or fourth Chris Kennedy, who was a different person, I was like, and we're done.
Yeah, I went to look up Murder at 1600 because that sounds up my alley.
Yeah.
And of course, it's a White House thriller, not up my alley. But
Oh,
I'm sure it
see,
was great. I'm sure he did a great job.
right, a White House thriller is very much
Mhm.
up my alley.
Yes,
So, um,
which makes sense that it's 1600. But I
yeah,
didn't, I thought maybe
put that
like in the
together.
1600s. I don't know.
Um, yeah, so this episode we start with the team running toward the gate as an injured Jack while they're being chased by like a boatload of people. Um, and they arrive back while under fire. And Hammond had just been asking about their return when they get back. And the rando on their team, who we find out his name is Captain Hagman, uh,
What a name.
has been shot by a tranquilizer. Um, and it's not going very well. And basically, the conversation with Hammond is him telling Carter that they will reassign him. He will not stay on SG-1, but also says Area 51 called and said it's done.
Which feels very like sinister.
It does.
It's not really, but it
It's
sounds
really
very
not.
sinister.
And then I went into my immediate next spiral when the credits started playing, and they were the wrong credits.
Those aren't the right ones.
No.
They're different though.
Yes, they're different, and the names are all correct.
Uh-huh.
But I started explaining to my mom what was on the screen, and she goes, I'm sorry, what? Because that in season 6, when they changed the credits, what you saw in the Amazon credits of the spinning of the Stargate is correct. But in the actual season 6 credits, when the Stargate is spinning, inlaid like inside the circle are like half circle pictures of footage of the actors with their name.
Oh,
This was like the raw version of the
yeah.
credits, and I was
It
like,
was very clean though. I was
it
like,
was
oh, this
very
is very
clean. It
clean. And the
was
sound was like more epic than the original credits.
yes,
Like,
it was very well done, but it was not the
but it
correct
was wrong.
visuals. It was not the correct visuals, and I don't know why. I didn't have
We'll see.
time. I didn't have time to look into that. I wonder if episode 2 is fixed, then I will just chalk it up for them. They didn't have the credits finished in time, so they just
Yeah.
did that or not. Yeah, so we'll see. Also, Amazon's fucking weird, and half the time in the first 5 seasons they did the syndication credits, and half the time they did the original air credits. So I don't trust them with credits
I don't trust Amazon.
at all.
Full stop.
Yeah. Um, so then we get an we start after the credits, we start the episode, the rest of the episode with the king of ADHD apparently, because Jonas is reading, watching the news, listening to classical music, and eating grapes all at the same time.
It felt like me while I was doing my Duolingo, grabbing all of the things I needed and making coffee and letting Aurora out before we started recording.
Yeah.
So I get it.
So Sam comes into him, and we find out through their conversation that they've gone through 9 replacements for Daniel already. It's been 3 months, and they have gone through 9 different replacements. Um, and none of them have worked out for various reasons. But it has been 3 months, and Jonas has been there the whole time. And so, for the first time, Hammond is going to let him leave the base. And he's going with Sam to Area 51. And we find out that he's weirdly obsessed with the Weather Channel and watches it all day, every day, and knows everything about the climate of every single city on the planet.
Yeah. To be fair, it's 2002.
Yeah.
And I mean, sure, there's TV, but you're in an underground base. That's probably the most happening thing. I know when we used to go down south and we had very limited channels, the Weather Channel is what we ended up with a lot. So
I just took it as him being an autistic king, and like that is
also
just,
possible.
yeah, that was just like what he latched onto for some reason. Um, but then we get one of my favorite. This episode had a lot of really good jokes in it. Like they really like upped the comedy this season. Um, and so we get this moment where because Jonas is wearing his regular like green fatigues and Sam is wearing her blues. And so he asks her how he's supposed to know what to wear every day. And she, which is a running joke because they change costumes all the time, but always the whole team is wearing the same costume. Like whenever Jack and Sam and Daniel and Teal'c were in either their blues or their greens or whatever, they were all in the same thing, even when it didn't make sense. So she says we call each other every morning.
They don't have a group text going in 2002.
They sure don't. So then
Too expensive.
our team arrives at a hangar in Area 51 where we find the X-302, which is the first entirely built human spacecraft capable of interstellar travel.
Terrifying.
It is a glider, basically based on the original Goa'uld glider, but built by humans, so not fucked up
Right.
with Apophis stuck inside of it or something.
And everyone like understands the mechanics of it.
Yeah. But it has the additional ability that the Goa'uld gliders don't have of being able to jump into hyperspace because of the Naquadria that Jonas built or brought, being more powerful than Naquadah. And Jack does not want to fly it. The first 18 words out of his mouth when he sees it are no.
Yeah.
Because, you know, his last run-in with flying a glider went so well.
Yeah.
Which
I know. I was like, are they really gonna bring this back for him after his really traumatic outing
which
with Tilk.
which they interestingly didn't like go into a ton of detail about, but
Yeah.
they did like basically be like he's tried to fly a spaceship before and it didn't work out very well for him. And they were like, yeah, but this one isn't run by the Goa'ulds. So that's like that's kind of the level of exposition we're getting, only
Yeah.
through the whole episode.
Right.
Everything does that. Um, because then, we don't why would we also not just start with reminding you who every character who's going to be important to the show ever again is? Because Colonel Chekhov is with Hammond.
This
And,
man.
and his suggestion for the newest SG-1 member is to show good faith in their joint operations and put a Russian on their team.
What are they doing for America?
And
Because it
Jack,
seems like he's just like, here, take another Russian. Here, we want to learn more from you. Like,
yeah,
I don't see the quid pro quo happening.
yeah. So Jack says he basically tells Chekhov to fucking bite him. And by basically, I mean he says more than that,
This
but he
is
legitimately
exactly
does
bite
say
me.
bite me.
Yeah.
And Hammond sends Chekhov out of the room for a second to have a conversation with Jack. And he goes, listen, I should have reprimanded you. You can't do that. I didn't though, because I do agree with you. I
Right. You
fucking
are
don't
completely right.
I don't want to
But
rush in on our team. And he's like, but and then back in the we're just telling we're asking exposition questions by making it sound like a joke. Um Jack says, why does SG-1 need to have four people on it anyway? Like, where's the rule that an SG team needs four members?
mm-hmm. Totally fair.
Right. And Hammond says, there isn't one. You don't, but I personally believe that Dr. Jackson wasn't just a body on your team. He brought a very, very important linguistic and moral ethic like element to your team that is missing right now. And I am ordering you to find a replacement for him.
And like that is sound logic. However, because the people they keep adding to the team are all military people, they're not going to have the same qualities as Daniel Jackson. So it seems
Which,
like you're just trying to put a body on the team. You
which,
got to look
to
outward.
be fair, yes, but you also have to remember that the only reason Daniel Jackson even ever had military
Mhm.
clearance was because he's the one who discovered the Stargate in the first place. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? So, like,
No.
and you can be in the military and also have studied something else in school. Like,
Sure, but who in the military has done architecture and linguistics?
I don't know.
Call me, find me, let me know. Hit me up.
She just wants to date you.
That is 0% true. That sounds like my worst nightmare, but it's fine. But I do want you to call me. I do want to know
um,
what brought you there.
well, and Hammond tells Jackie, it's like, I think, given your situation, like, I've been pretty lenient with you about how long it's fucking taking you to take care of this. But you aren't denying these candidates because their qualifications. You're denying them because you don't want to trust them. So I need you to get it together. And he was like,
Right.
I will give you the personnel files of every person on base who is not currently leading something. And you figure it out. Like, do it. Like, you have to do
Mhm.
this. Um, so then we see Jonas and who is going to talk to Sam, who Sam is being uncharacteristically cold to him. This was the one scene that I didn't really like because I know later you see that really it's Sam protecting Jack more than anything,
Mhm.
but he's like talking about why he thinks he would be a good fit for SG-1 and all the things that he can do and his physical capabilities and his mental capabilities and the science that he can bring and the perspective that he can bring, which is literally everything that we just saw General Hammond asking
Right.
for. And Sam is like weirdly like, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that this was my least favorite scene because this scene made Jonas seem like the sympathetic character and Sam seem like the
Sam,
asshole.
right.
Like it
Yeah, it
did.
was very out of character for her. So,
And like we all know that it's because Jack doesn't want him on the team because Jack is angry. Because then we have the scene later with Teal'c where Teal'c explains that that's
mhm.
what's happening. But for Sam to come off as the cold barrier just feels weird. And
Yeah.
like, yes, Sam is the one who's suffering the most with Daniel gone. Like we've seen that she's not handling it well, but she's not seemingly emotional right now. She's just cold.
Yeah, this felt disconnected from her grieving.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Um, But so when he can't get through to Sam, Jonas goes to hang out with Teal'c. Because two alien bros getting along, being the outsiders.
Sure.
Um, and
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and they're boxing. And it's really funny because Jonas, first of all, cannot fathom why anyone would do this as a
Yeah,
sport.
no.
But also, every time Teal'c punches him, he like pops back up like a spring, and he's like, "No, I'm okay. Nothing happened. I'm fine." Which that's wild. I don't think I could be handled being punched by Teal'c.
No, no one can. It's only because he's an alien that he can.
Right. And so he's like, I feel like Jack trusts you. Like, you should talk to him. Like, you should get him to trust me. And Teal'c's like, I can't like force him to change his mind about you. And he's like, yeah, but like he needs to stop holding me. He holds me responsible for like what happened to Daniel. And then they're talking about like how hard it is to crack Jack. And then he goes, okay, if I can knock you down, you have to talk to Jack for me. And Teal'c's like, fine.
Toke was not just like immediately like fine though. And I was like, you know that this man cannot knock you down. I don't know why you're not just like, sure, whatever you say. Like
Because
he
here's
was
the
much too
thing,
stoic about
he
it.
was. But then he knocks him down one more time. And Jonas, and he's like, sorry, I wasn't ready. And then he goes, okay, but now I'm ready. We've
Yeah.
also just previously in the scene with Sam learned that he picks things up and learns things at an actually accelerated non-human rate.
Right.
And then we have a sharp cut to Teal'c in the mess hall getting ready to talk to Jack. So clearly Jonas knocked him down, which
Right.
I hate that they didn't show us that.
I know, like what a missed opportunity.
The comedy moment of it, pure gold. Unfortunately, I
Absolutely.
also would have loved to see somebody knock Teal'c out. Don't worry, we get a lot of that later in the episode. So,
Yeah.
that's probably why they didn't. Um, so Jack is trying to argue that they don't need anybody else on the team and that all of these people who he was like the American universities like need to fix their acceptance rate because all these people are stupid. Basically, he's like none of them can be Daniel. Like this is dumb. We don't
Yeah.
even need anybody on our team anyway. And Teal'c's like, well, what about Jonas? Like he fits all the same qualities as Daniel. And Jack goes, I know you've been practicing, but it's still really hard for me to tell. Was that a joke?
This whole scene, I just loved this whole scene.
Yeah, and then
Everything about it.
he's like, I can't because he's an alien. Uh, and
And he's
Tiff's
like, no, he's an alien.
yeah, and Tiff's like, you learned to trust me, and he's like, it's totally different. And Tiff's like, actually, like, legitimately, it's not though. Like,
0%.
like
0%
factually,
true.
it is not different.
Yeah.
Um, but luckily for Jack, an unscheduled incoming travel breaks up their conversation and they go to see what's going on in the Stargate. And it is Braytak. Braytak
Mhm.
has come to tell Teal'c that Drayok is very sick. Um, and Hammond's like, you don't even have to ask, go. Like, go see your
Yeah.
family. Um, and then we get our next moment of really great exposition of Sam telling Jonas everything about Teal'c's family, because just in case you forgot that Teal'c has a family and this is why he doesn't see them, this is why.
I know.
Uh,
I even like noted, I was like, it's kind of nice that they haven't like completely written off his family because there's so many things that like fall out of their exposition that they're just like, that happened and we're never talking about it again.
mhm.
So it's nice that at least at least our main character's like backstory is still
Yeah, and like
stay true.
Sam even says like he goes to see them as often as he can, and we know that there are like chunks of time
Right.
that we don't see. But she's like, but it's hard. Like he's away on missions. It wouldn't have made sense for them to stay on the base because he's gone a lot and blah blah blah. And like it was really good. Um, and she's like talking, and Jonas is like, yeah, I never would have like known that about Teal'c. He seems so like cold, really. And she's like, yeah, he's got an outer shell, like he's really hard to crack. And he goes, yeah, but I'm really good at like recognizing how people are feeling. And then Colonel Chekhov comes storming in, and he goes, like, I don't know if you can tell, but this man is very upset. And honestly, just that moment is one of the reasons why I love Jonas as a character because it just was a like,
I do already love him. It did not take very long for me to love him,
yeah.
but um
Of course, he's no
yeah.
Daniel, and he's not going to be Daniel, and we have an emotional attachment to Daniel, but there's something about um the level of sass of Jack, but from a non-jaded point of view. Like an
Yes. Yes.
like an almost like childlike stupidity of like humor
Hmm.
that Jonas brings
Hmm.
that none of the because what we loved so much about season one Teal'c was his not understanding things. But now that Teal'c has been there for long enough, like, sure, he doesn't really have a sense of humor the same way they do, but he's no longer confused about Earth.
Right.
So we don't have a character who is confused about Earth. And that it was some of the best dialogue and comedy about the show. So they introducing a new character that gets to be confused all over again,
Hmm.
but like in a
In a
silly
different
way.
way. Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, that was actually a really smart move on there. Like this was a really, really good casting choice.
Yeah.
Because and specifically because like I said, like I'm still upset that Daniel Jackson's gone. I'm not like thrilled about it, but like I'm okay with this new character. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's going to be a hard barrier for them because Daniel Jackson's so beloved.
Yeah.
Like finding a new character that doesn't make you immediately hate them for at least a season before you like them.
Yeah.
And they did a good job of it. So
Right.
kudos. I don't know who the casting director is. Kudos, casting director.
I will look that up because I don't remember either. But so Chekhov is ambushing Sam to yell at her that he was never told about the X-302, which Hammond wants to know how the fuck he knows about the
Right.
X-302.
It's like, why do you know now?
Yeah. Um, and so they're fighting when all of a sudden the gate activates again. What's happening? Who knows? So they go and check it out, but there's no IDC or a radio signal of any kind coming through the gate. And Sam's like, you don't understand. In order for a wormhole to stay active, something has to pass through it. Like the event horizon will
Yeah.
close after a certain amount of time, which actually is a good explanation for why they come through the gate all the time and then it closes behind them without them having to
Right.
do anything or press anything because it
It closes when there's
makes
nothing there.
sense of that. Yeah,
Mhm.
it closes when there's nothing there. So she's like, that doesn't make any sense. Um, so Walter checks with Deep Space Nine, or I'm sorry, Deep Space Watch. Deep Space Nine, that's Star Trek. Checks with Deep Space Watch, and they don't see any ships out there. So it's not coming from space. It is, in fact, coming from another planet. We just don't know how or why or where. So Hammond's like, all right, figure it out. Then we flash to our other story, and Braytak is explaining to Teal'c that he honestly brought Teal'c against Drayok's wishes. Teal'c's like, why did you wait so long? He's like, she didn't even want me to bring you now. Like,
Yeah.
she she has refused a new symbiote. She knew that if you knew how sick she was, you would do something rash to try to save her. And she was like, that goes against everything we believe in. We don't want to hurt any more Jaffa. And unfortunately, because of everything that Teal'c and Braytek have accomplished in their movement, the Jaffa priests don't have control of the young symbiotes anymore to just
Right.
willingly steal them and put them in other bodies. So she doesn't have a symbiote to get. Um, and so Ryak comes out of the tent where his mother was and sees Teal'c there and like angry cries and yells at Teal'c and blames him for Dryak dying, which is so sad.
Yeah.
Um,
And is this the same actor that played him
yeah,
previously?
yeah, that's
Okay,
the
so
same
he's just
kid.
grown up. He's just grown
Yeah.
up.
I mean, you think about
That's
it.
fine.
If he was like 12 in season two and like 15 now, the difference between a 12-year-old boy and a 15-year-old boy is like a
Right.
lot. And I think
Yeah.
he was older. I think he was probably like the actor was probably like 13 or 14 the first time we saw him. So now he's like 16 or 17. That's a
Yeah.
whole ass man now.
Yeah. He's a real person.
Yeah. Um, so back at SGC, the wormhole is still open. And Sam is like, it's fine. We just have to, a wormhole has never stayed sustained for more than 38 minutes. So once we hit the 38-minute mark, we'll just immediately call out so that the thing is open so that people can't call us back and we'll contact whoever we need to contact.
And I thought it was a good touch. I don't know if you noticed, but like you could see the like view of the 37 minutes like in the window so that while
Yes.
she was saying this, everyone's not just like, oh, well, what minute are we on? But they didn't have to like say it,
Yeah, because yes, so they do that so that you know that this is not like a, oh, we're gonna have to leave and then come back to this flashback.
Right.
We're almost there. So then they focus in on the clock and show us 38 minutes and then it
Mhm.
keeps going. And then Hammond is like, okay. And she's like, well, give her take a few seconds. And Jack's like, but like how many is a few?
Right.
Um, so
What's Daisy?
the timer passes the 38-minute mark and there is no end in sight. Um, Back on the planet, Teal'c enters the tent to find Drayok's body covered in her funeral veil and begins to cry. And like I said, I was not medicated today, so I could not handle that scene at all.
Yeah.
Then he follows Ryak into the woods, and Ryak says basically that like Teal'c chose this life for them without ever like wondering how they felt about it, and he puts like the blame on Teal'c and is like, "I'm gonna avenge my mother's death," like blah blah blah. Like you have brought us nothing but pain and misery and isolation, and I hate you and I blame you. And Teal'c's like, "Okay."
I know. Oh, that was so sad. That was so heartbreaking.
And so he just starts beating the shit out of Teal'c. Like he can't shoot. He like goes to shoot, but he can't shoot. But he's still so like emotional, like teenager angry that he just starts
Hmm.
hitting Teal'c with the staff. Um, Back at the SGC, Sam and some technicians have discovered that there actually is a pattern in the energy anomalies, but they're small enough to be imperceptible at normal sensitivity. They had to like increase their sensors by like 200% to even find them. Um, they could potentially be responsible for a buildup in the energy in the gate, which the gate is collecting energy basically. Um, we flip back to Teal'c and Ryak is mad that Teal'c won't fight back. And he's like, "You don't think of me as a worthy enemy, like you don't think of me as a warrior, you're just gonna stand there and take it." And Braytak comes in and pushes Ryak aside and was like, "You better be lucky he
Yeah.
doesn't think of you as a worthy enemy because he would snap you in half if he wanted to hurt you right now."
Yeah. He's like, we are not doing this today.
Yeah. And he was like, a true warrior does not let grief make decisions. You are, he was like, Teal'c is not to blame for our suffering. Whether we had ever stood up or fought back or not, we would still be slaves to the Goa'uld, and your life would be a different kind of misery, but it would not be good. So I don't know what you think you're accomplishing right now, but get it together.
Yeah.
And then we just have a really upsetting moment of just Teal'c watching Ryak run away.
I know.
Hate
It's so
it.
sad. That poor family.
Um, Back at the SGC, the energy coming through the gate is just going to keep building up and collecting in the gate, and they have about a few days before it will become a bomb that will wipe out the entire state of Colorado and, due to its damage, eventually destroy all life on Earth.
Mhm.
because of
Hmm.
the environmental impacts.
Right.
But don't worry, it gets worse because they have no idea how to stop it.
Yeah.
Um, so then we go back to the planet and they're holding Dryak's funeral. And it's very sad, and Teal'c has to say goodbye and light the funeral pyre, and it's very upsetting. But then Ryak like runs away, and Teal'c goes to follow him, and Braytek stops him and is like, "Give him a minute, like let him have his grief. It's a funeral." Like, and he goes, and um, Teal'c's like, "I don't know what I did. Like, my son hates me, basically." And Braytak is like, Ryak doesn't hate you. He's young and he's grieving and he feels the same way that you felt when Kronos killed your father, except he still doesn't trust himself to be strong enough because he's been brainwashed by Apophis. He thinks that he won't ever live up to who you are and what you stand for. And now without
Yeah.
his mother, he has nobody to remind him that he's strong enough. He's like, he
Hmm.
doesn't hate you. He just thinks that you don't believe in him because you've never told him you do.
Which is so sad. Like, ugh.
But it's also even more upsetting when you think about it from the point of view that Teal'c never had a father who could do that for him because his father died. And Braytek is the closest thing he's ever had to a father. And Braytek's like, now it's your turn to break the generational curse and like be a dad.
But also go save the world. Like, ugh.
Right.
A lot going
Um,
on for Tilk.
yeah. So Teal'c gives him a little bit of time and then he goes and he sits down next to him and he tells him the story of Apophis brainwashing him in the beginning of season 5 and how Braytek saved him and everything. And he says that like he also knows what it's like to doubt himself because he couldn't believe that he would fall so easily and like go back on these friends who trusted him and who saved him basically. And he says that like he's like I might not have been around as much, but like I never doubted your heart and who you were. And the reason why I fought so hard when you were brainwashed was because I knew it wasn't who you were. He said you don't have to prove he said you don't need to win back my trust because you never lost it.
Ugh, so sweet.
And then they embrace and they have a moment and it's beautiful. But we don't get to be happy crying for long because back at the SJC, everyone is still scrambling around trying to figure out what to do when Rodney walks in smug as shit.
Jesus Christ, this guy. I already love him. I hate myself for loving him, but he brings me so much joy.
So much. He immediately was like, oh, still sexy as ever. And it was like, Jesus fucking Christ. Um, but the way he like interacts with Jonas later is why you're like, so he's not a complete douchebag. He's just
Yeah.
um so he's like, I'm here to help you, and Sam's like, I don't want your help. Goodbye.
Yeah. Just like, no, thank you.
Um, but she gets a phone call. Um, and then we go to Chekhov, Jack, and Hammond. Chekhov is a jack off, but I just keep fucking saying his name wrong. Um, so,
Correct.
so Chekhov, Jack, and Hammond are still squabbling, and Sam's comes in and was like, "Oh, the X-302 will be ready in 6 hours." And Chekhov's like, "I thought it was going to be ready for weeks." And she's like, "Well, it is. Can I go fly it?" And Hammond's like, "Yeah." And Jack's like, "Oh, I'll go too."
I know. Oh,
But
bless
but
his
I mean,
heart.
what else is he gonna do? Teal'c's on the other planet. Daniel's dead. The love of his life is about to get into a we don't know if it works spaceship.
Right.
What is he gonna do?
Yeah.
Um,
Either it's really fine. Either option's fine. Either it's successful, great. Or if it breaks and they both die,
then at least they're
it's
together.
over.
Yeah.
Right. So
Um, then we go back to the planet and a there's a a quick moment of fear as a gold cargo ship lands on the planet. But since no one else seems to be concerned or frightened at all, you know it is probably one of them. And then Shakral, who we have never met before, but they act like
Hilt's
we're supposed to
bestie.
know. Yeah.
Right. Yep. I was gonna
um,
ask if we knew him. I'm
no,
glad you told
we've
me we
never met
didn't.
him before, but we just act like we're supposed to know who this man is.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, and so Shakral arrives and he's like, Teal'c, I'm so glad you're here because I was just coming to tell Braytak to warn you. The Tauri are under attack from Anubis. So we finally know who is behind the weird shit. I mean, we already knew who was behind
Yeah.
the weird shit, but we know who's behind the weird shit at SGC.
Mm.
Jack and Sam are getting ready to fly, and they are headed to Abydos since it is the closest planet with a Stargate, which is a throwback because thank God we remembered that Abydos is the closest planet to us with Stargate, because sometimes I fear that they will forget that we know that.
Yes. Yes.
So then, while they're getting ready, Jonas goes to Hammond and he's like, "This isn't gonna work, just so you know." Um, and he's like, I have all of Daniel's information and I have all of the Nequadria information and I have all of the information Sam gave me about the schematics of the plane and everything. And like, I might not be a scientist from Earth, but I can tell you this is not going to go well. And Rodney's like, that's what I was trying to say. Jonas was like, who are you? He's like, a scientist from Earth. And it not gonna work. So now Rodney and Jonas are like, this is not a good plan. And Hammond goes, that's great. Do you have another one? Because if you don't, you better uh cross your fingers and say a prayer because like we got nothing else to go on at this moment.
Yeah.
And then we get the reminder that Jonas is the new Teal when he says, cross my fingers. Like doesn't know what that means.
Yeah.
And so Rodney explains to him that humans are weird and say shit that doesn't make sense sometimes. Which, of course, and Rodney showed him what crossing your fingers looks like, but he still didn't get it. Because I don't know if you noticed later when he walked up to Hammond and just went,
I did not notice
yeah.
that.
He's like, they're about to take off into hyperspace, and he just goes like this to
Oh,
Hammond.
I did see that.
Yes.
I did see that. I
Yeah.
did, you know.
And so he doesn't know what crossing your fingers means. And he's
Ugh,
like, ugh.
yeah. Bless him. Bless him.
Um, So Jack and Sam get ready for takeoff. They start going through all the things. Jack makes a Star Trek joke that I laughed at. That Sam did not. Whatever. Um, and Hammond tells them what Jonas said about his concerns, and Sam's like, "No, like she writes it off as explaining that they've already tested all of the possibilities." And she's like, "We
Yeah.
know what every conceivable outcome is." And Jack said, "I'm more worried about the inconceivable outcomes because this is not his first rodeo."
Yeah.
Um, so they take off, and while they're flying, Teal'c is trying to dial the gate to Earth but can't. So Shakrel's like explains that Anubis's weapon uses one Stargate to destroy another Stargate, and that if he can't get in, it means the attack has already begun. Um, and Shakrel's like, "That's why I brought a ship so we can go." Get it. And Teal'c's like, that is not going to work. We're not going to get there fast enough if the thing has already started. So Braytek's like, listen, I know Anubis is powerful, but he still doesn't control he controls a lot of technology and a lot of power, but not a lot of planets or people. So we just have to figure out which of Anubis's planets he's using to start this. So Braytak's gonna play like Ding Dong Ditch and call every Stargate until he finds out which one is currently attacking our Stargate.
Yeah.
Um,
So, but they have to like, once they find it because they can't get there, can they, would they just go to another Stargate that's closer and fly over?
Depending on where it is, yeah, because they
Right.
have a ship, they can get there.
Right.
But if it's in the same part of the galaxy where they don't need to go into hyperdrive or whatever, then yes, if it's in the same quadrant or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if it isn't, then yes, they'd have to go through a Stargate and get there that way. Jack and Sam leave the atmosphere and they begin to engage the hyperdrive. They open the window, but suddenly the autopilot engages and pushes them off course. So they like do a weird hook around the hyperdrive window. So mission control declares a mission failure and asks them to return to base. Then I paused it and realized that there were only 6 minutes left in the episode, and I knew it was a part one, but I was like, they're just gonna add this in the fucking weirdest place, aren't they? Um, because
Yes, correct.
you would think that would be a great moment to end it, right? No.
Hmm.
Sam and Jack come back, they report back to Hammond, tell them everything that happened, and Rodney and Jonas get some fun I told you so's, and Jonas is just like casually eating an apple, and they're like, we're gonna have to fix it. And he goes, I don't think you can. Um, and Hammond says, whatever the problems are, whatever we can and can't fix, bottom line, we're on our own. We can't contact the Asgards. We have to figure this out from our side. Um, and so then we have a cute moment with Jack and Sam where Jack once again says, shit, that is so awkward that I don't know how he functions as a human being, because he asks Sam why she's not with all the other eggheads and then like apologizes and says that she's not an egghead, but then says actually you are an egghead, like, but like I mean that in the best way.
This is like the third time this episode that he's just like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. You know what? No, I'm gonna say that. Like,
Yeah.
I mean it.
Yeah. And then she's like, well, what are your ideas? You always look at things from the simplest point of view. And he's like, thank you. I'm gonna go eat some cake now. And I'm like, they're like clearly having a moment where they're like worried about each other, but can't fucking communicate as adult humans. It is wild. Um, but then the alarm starts blaring again, and they run down to the gate room, and a hologram of Anubis appears, which they casually remind us is Asgard technology that he must have taken from Thor's brain. Um, and that he tells all of SGC that he is behind the attacks and that the end is nigh and that this is it. And instead of just ending on the cliffhanger of Anubis saying that,
Right. Yeah.
like they could have just had Anubis' speech and then end.
That's what I thought they were gonna do.
Instead, they have Anubis' speech and then they switch to Jack, who just goes, you gotta be kidding me. And it ends on Jack being pissed off that Anubis is doing this. Like, and if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about Stargate, I don't know what does.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
Yeah. So yeah, there was a fucking lot in that episode. Um, so how are you feeling? What do you think?
I don't even know what to think. Like, obviously, I I like that we jumped in where we left off.
Yeah.
I like that we weren't like, here's Anubis, 7 seasons later we see him again. Like,
Yeah.
that's nice because that isn't always the case.
Yeah.
I do like Jonas. I don't know if Rodney's becoming like a real character in the show, but I do want him to. I think I would like that. I want the SG team to start feeling a little more SG again. And maybe it's because they're trying to make them feel, a little disconnected because Daniel's not there.
Yeah.
And so it's like an on purpose thing, but they're close. So like I just want to see that again. But they also have to leave room to, add their fourth. So
Yeah.
that makes sense.
And I think it makes sense to show them started from disintegrated for a hot second and push the pieces back together, because if they just started the new season as if there wasn't a hole in the team, we would be equally upset.
That is true. That is correct. So what's happening? I wonder if Ryak is going to be more involved this season, because now he doesn't have a mom. Maybe he joins Braytak a little more. So I could see that. I don't think he's gonna be like an every episode character by any means, but he could frequently be involved with Braytak. Yeah. I'm interested to see exactly how they end up on this planet and see if they make it like the planet to like shut down the Stargate that's attacking or whatever, and to see if it's going to be something they do that is really well done or if it is a little bit of a cop out. I don't know what they're going to do. So we'll see. I assume we'll see next episode.
Yeah. Well, I do have some trivia.
Oh, okay. Yay.
Yeah, I've got just 3 pieces of trivia. And the first one is the knee injury. That is why RDA is very uninvolved in a lot of the action of this episode, was an actual knee injury. His daughter was 3 at at the time. And he was carrying her and fell and fucked up his knee real bad about a week before they started filming the episode. So they tweaked it to have him injured and sitting for a lot of the episode. So
That
like,
makes sense.
yeah, so like all the dialogue and all the things that he does make sense, but he can't be the one like going out and doing things
Right.
because he was legitimately injured. That was not a like him hobbling through the planet. That was all a real injury. Um,
Nice.
the season starting with a big, giant, over the top, everyone involved, wild, uh, like technology two-parter was done on purpose, basically to make sure that everyone who was afraid that with sci-fi they would lose their budget had nothing to worry about. They literally did the biggest thing that they could think of to start the episode just to be like, we're still Stargate, like it's gonna be
Yeah.
okay. And I
Like, don't
thought,
worry.
yeah, and I thought it was funny just because we had talked about that in the season wrap up about what it
Mhm.
meant for the budget to be switching to this lower tier
Yeah.
channel. And they were like, don't you worry, we got hologram 8 foot tall Anubis.
We can hologram, we can do anything.
Yeah, and we can have 14 different previous guest stars unrelated to the plot of the episode all come back for this episode.
Yeah.
And then my last piece of information is about the character Chakrel. And this is really funny.
Our friend we don't know.
Our
Yeah.
friend we don't know. If you notice when you saw him, he was taller than Teal,
Yes.
which is saying something because Christopher Judge is not a short man.
Right.
Christopher Judge is 6'3", 6'2", something like
That
that.
sounds right.
Yeah, he made me feel very short. He was not as tall as Ryan Hurst, but pretty close. But he's not a short man and he's not a small man. So to not only be taller but look bigger than him is wild.
Yeah.
The character's name is spelled Shaq'(Rel).
Okay.
Yeah. And it was written specifically for a specific actor slash not actor to play who Chris Judge told them was interested in playing this part. And then things just didn't work
Don't say
out.
it.
And they never revealed the name of this person, but said that it's literally, they didn't make it a secret either. Like it's not hidden at all.
It's Shaquille O'Neal.
Correct.
I mean, come on. Like,
right. No, but yeah, so Chakrel was supposed to legitimately be Shaq.
jeez, that would have been so funny though.
Could you imagine?
Ugh, I would have loved that.
I'm
so
trying to
much.
think. I think that just based on the who we have and haven't talked about in the episode yet, I'm pretty sure the actor who plays Chakrel would have to be who I talk about next week because who else would it be?
Sure.
So we'll get into that next week. But yeah, so Chris Judge told them that Shaquille O'Neal wanted to be a Jaffa, and then they wrote a part for him, and then they couldn't make it work.
I see. Also, that is 0% how I would have spelled that. So, like, had you not said it to me, I would have never gotten there.
Exactly.
So, never in a million years.
Yeah. So that is the grand opening ceremony for season 6 of Stargate. And so my question for you
Oh God.
is, who do you want to punch?
Oh, of course. Check out.
Oh, yeah.
No question. Yeah, no. I hate that man.
I knew you would pick Chekhov. And to be honest, nobody's really a bad guy in this episode other than Chekhov
Right.
and like the giant hologram of Anubis, but I like feel weird about punching a hologram.
It's not very satisfying.
Not very satisfying. So I'm gonna pick Ryak because obviously he gets over it. But sometimes when somebody, it's like that moment where like somebody's hysterically crying, so you slap them across the face to like shake them out of it.
Right.
I want to punch him with that energy, not like an angry energy.
Yeah. That's totally fair. Totally fair.
Yeah. Who is your MVP?
This might be a little out of left field, but I ended up going with Carter because I know she had some like up and downs, but I feel like she really she had the drive this episode. Like
Yeah.
she really wanted to do everything that could be done at all times. And she like, I don't know, like I want to volunteer to get on this thing. Let me see what we can do about the Stargate. Like I'll talk to Jonah, even though she doesn't want him involved, but she's like
Yeah.
giving him a list of books. She's like, I'm gonna take you to Area 51. Hammond told me to, but I'm doing it anyways. Like, I
Right.
don't know. She said a lot of get up and go this episode, and I liked it.
That is totally fair. I'm gonna pick Braytac because he said all the sweet things to Teal'c and made me cry.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, fair.
um, and I mean, there were some others who were good in this episode, but that
Mhm.
one was just the top for me. Um, I mean, I'd ask you what you think is coming up, but we kind of talked about that, the things you hope that are going to happen
Mhm.
next week, so that it's not
Yeah.
as you hope that they
Yeah.
don't give us a cop out ending. Um, and I think when you think about the fact that we know that Anubis is going to be like the big bad for the whole season, it would be very unsatisfying to do something too big next episode and then
Right.
do what with him for the rest of the season.
Sure.
So we will see. But yeah. Um, so I guess with that, if you have any questions, concerns, theories, thoughts, feelings about all of these annoying men on the show who
If
just
you are in the military, also an architect and also a
correct,
linguist.
correct. If you cross your fingers by putting your two fingers in front of each other, um,
Well, now I will be doing that. So,
please reach out to us at Gmail, at deafandaliens@gmail.com. I can't speak English. You can follow us on all of the social media at Deaf and Aliens, and you can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
and you can find me at CE Cloud 13.
We will see you all next week on Thursday for Thriller. I'm done. I can't speak English. We're done. We'll see you on Thursday.
We'll see
Goodbye.
ya.